In tonight's episode, we are going to be discussing keyboard bandings and mice bandings to make you the most dangerous and lethal Battlefield player possible. We're going to be getting some hints and tips from a whole wide range of players, looking at a variety of different mouse bandings and key bindings to give you lots of ideas for how to improve your gameplay. So, let's get learning. Well, greetings ladies and gentlemen, my name is TheAdipose, and today I want to talk to you about your keyboard and your mouse. To be more specific, the bindings that you have on your keyboard and the bindings you have on your mouse, because there are so many different combinations that you can have. And I'm sorry, but this is obviously going to apply to the PC players and not the console players today, but there are so many combinations that you can get and so many different ideas that I want to dedicate this video to discussing some of the ideas or some of the common themes that are out there to help you improve your key bindings and then hopefully, of course, become a better player. Now, the first point I want to bring out here is, why are we rebinding our keys? Well, the answer is that we want to make sure that all of our most commonly used controls, everything that we're going to need in our battles, are under our fingers. We don't want to have to be kind of doing awkward movements in the middle of a firefight. We don't want to be going kind of like, oh, where's that button, where's this button? We don't want to be scrolling through menu after menu or something like that. We need things instantly accessible with preferably single button pushes, which could be on the mouse and it could be on the keyboard. So that's idea number one. We want to be get everything accessible. Secondly, we want to redistribute things a little bit more evenly between the keyboard and the mouse, because by default the game basically sets up the mouse to fire, aim down sight, maybe a melee. You've got the mouse wheel doing a few little things, but then basically everything else is done by the keyboard, and that basically means your keyboard is kind of doing, let's say, 70% of the work and the mouse is doing, say, 30%. Very important 30%, but still 30%. And what we want to do is make that balance more 50-50, because you've got quite a lot of fingers on your mouse, and if you've got a gaming mouse, and most Battlefield 3 players do, you will have extra buttons. I've got 2 on the side here, I've got 2 extra on the top here, the mouse wheel does a few extra little things as well, so we want to be taking advantage of that. There's no point having buttons on here that we're not using and then forcing ourselves to kind of go all the time. So that's another goal that we have got. So let's start talking practically what we're going to change. Now, by default, your weapon buttons you're given 2 options. The first one is your numbers up here, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is awful. Okay, and obviously that's my opinion. You're welcome to disagree with me in comment section. I'm happy to take the abuse, but 1, 2, 3, 4 up here are awful controls for you to use, and I'll show you why. Because you need these 3 buttons here to move, sorry, these 3 fingers here to move. W, A, S and D, you need them to be running around, and whether I'm going backwards, left, right, all that kind of stuff, I need these accessible all the time. Now, often when you're fighting, you will need to change weapon to quickly get a rocket launcher out, to shoot the tank, to quickly change to your pistol, to shoot the guy. So you don't want to be going up to the top here. You don't want to be stretching up to number 4, which means you can't turn right at the same time. You don't want to be stretching, you don't want to be moving to the left and then realise you can't actually get to your primary without twisting your hand awkwardly and stuff like that. So those 4 are out. But the other suggestion is that you actually use the mouse wheel here. That's the other thing it has by default, and you just kind of roll it up and down. So like down once for pistol, down twice for your repair tool, down 4 times the rocket launcher, or it's probably, yes, or something like that. But I think that's a bad idea as well for a couple of reasons. First of all, in the middle of a firefight, it is pretty hard to count your clicks. I mean, is that 1 click? Is that 2 clicks? Is that 4 clicks? Is that 3 clicks? Because it gets pretty frantic. Also, it gets confusing in terms of which you always have to know constantly exactly which weapon you're on and exactly which weapon you want to go to. So I could be running around with my rocket launcher out rather than my assault rifle because there's lots of vehicles around. All of a sudden get attacked and want to change back to my primary, but I kind of just forget for a second which one I'm on. I click the wrong number of times and I end up with the wrong weapon out. So that's out as well for me. I strongly recommend that you rebind all 4 gadgets to separate buttons, and they could be over here or they could be on the mouse. I actually have B and V set to mine, and I'm actually busy. I'm experimenting at the moment. I've actually also got my middle mouse has got some extra buttons left and right. So if you can probably just see my middle finger moving here slightly. I can also select them by moving that middle finger around as well. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep them, but I do like the idea that my movement and my weapon selection is completely separate. And you'll just see as I'm running around here that it almost looks like my hand kind of isn't moving very much. Like you can see the mouse twitching slightly, but the point is that I've got all these different controls, and yet nothing is really going on with my hands because I've got them mapped very, very carefully to be under my fingers in their most relaxed place. And this is the other reason why I'm not going to give you a perfect, like, ta-da, this is how you do it, because people are going to have different mouses, people are going to have different sized keyboards, and actually people are going to have different hands. I've got big bare hand things, and so I'm going to need quite a spread out flat, but my hands naturally go into quite a flat position, whereas other people's will bunch up more, other people's will be kind of up higher like this, or they'll be smaller, or they'll be really big so they can like stretch over here and like set phi to L or something like that. But the point is that there isn't a perfect outline here. There is just suggestions, there is just theory, and then there's what naturally lies underneath your fingers. And if you're playing on a laptop, you're likely to find that actually many of these keys will be in different positions anyway, so you've got to work with what you got. Now, I asked some of my buddies on the Team Europe website, this is the clan I belong to, and I made a thread saying, please could you share with me your key bindings for your mouse and your keyboards, expecting to get one or two or three different responses from the group, but actually I got 15 responses and 15 different settings. So I was expecting, say, 15 responses, but them all to kind of be in maybe 4 different categories. But actually, almost every single person used a different setup. But let's have a look at some of basically what kind of things came up. First of all, almost everyone's got a gaming mouse. Okay, if I just scroll down, just look at the images. Almost everyone's got a gaming mouse with multiple buttons on it, and in fact, we've even got some people that have got some crazy many button mouses, but let's have a look at some of the kind of main themes that we have got here. Dave Panzer, who's the guy that runs Team Europe, and of course you're more than welcome to come over to this page and check it out for yourself. I'll put it in the description. He has all of his buttons. I'll try and show it to you on the top right hand corner as well as you can kind of seeing it in front of you. He has his toggle weapon and his zoom into the standard places, and then we've got on all the other buttons here, we've got the main weapon, we've got the pistol, the defib, the knife is up here, and push to talk. Don't forget, if you are in a clan or playing with the group, you'll probably need a button that says push to talk, unless you've got your settings set up carefully so you don't need to do so. Grenade he's also got on his mouse, so all of the kind of weapon related things are here, and in fact he's got his vehicle stuff on here as well, his smoke, his guided shell, his third person view, it's all on the mouse. So remember what I was saying before about splitting your input about 50% between your mouse and your keyboard. We got Grizzly here. It also depends on how you like to play as a player as well. He's got, if you look at this bit here, his scroll up and his scroll down, he's got them set to deploy bipod, or this is on the mouse wheel by the way, deploy bipod and change fire mode. Now I actually never use those buttons, but he clearly does. That's part of his gameplay. So I might say put buttons that I'm going to use there far more regularly, perhaps, so I might keep my change my DPI settings there in case I want to play as a recon or something like that. But for him, things like bipod are more important, so he needs to put them on there. Now quite a few people have got things like laser sight toggle, Grizzly has, and Dave has as well, his weapon light setting. They've got these set to their to a button on their mouse. In fact, some of them have actually got the zoom and the weapon on the same button, and let me just show you how that works. Fantastic. So here it is. You can quite clearly see the laser light there against the bike there, and as I zoom in, the light turns off. As I zoom out, I can turn that light back on. I can just tap it to turn that light on and off, but it will go off when I zoom in like that, and when I release it I can then kind of just toggle it back on by flicking like that. So again, it kind of means that those options are available to me when I need them. It's a nice idea. I personally don't do it myself, but there's a few players there that have it running like that, and it's all about giving you little ideas to improve your gameplay. If we scroll down again, we've got a few players that have got these gamepad or keypad combos, which is this idea that you can have other buttons underneath your thumb. You have a kind of set up ergonomic. I think the word is ergonomically or something like that for your hand. Basically, it fits the shape of your hand far better. And I actually have one as well over here, which I'll be showing you in a future video. But they can be really, really useful, and if you are a serious gamer or class yourself as a serious gamer, it's worth thinking about that, especially if you actually find your hands getting kind of cramps or getting stiff after an hour or two of play, because you often find if you are a serious gamer, you'll spend a few hours in this position, and if you're not completely comfortable, you're going to get some problems going on with your hands. And the other thing that I have, you probably can't see under here, is I've got a soft pad thing here, and I've got a soft pad thing here. So actually both of my wrists, there they are, beautiful, are quite happily on these soft pads. So nothing's on the hard desk. My hand is in a very delicate place, making me keeping my hand nice and soft. Now on my mouse, for the changing weapon, I actually have primary to secondary done on scroll down. Okay, there's a few options. If you actually go into the key bindings, there's just the ones that you'd expect, which is simply select primary, select secondary, and things like that. But there's also, if you go a bit further down, one that says toggle primary weapon, and that literally just goes between pistol and your primary. So I actually have those two just going between each other. You can just see my thumb's moving, sorry, my middle finger on my right hand is just moving slightly there, and it just goes between those two. Whereas I've got my other gadgets on my other finger, and because what I said earlier was I don't want to be scrolling multiple times here, but this is just toggling going between both of them there. Now the reason for that is because I would rather use one button where I can rather than two, so I have put those together. Now the other thing you can think about is your crouch button. Now mine's control. Now some people have crouch set to one button and prone set to something else. If you watch my mouse finger, there you go. So I've got prone over there and I've got crouch over here. But you can also change that so you've actually got a hold and tap variation. If you look at my control, if I tap control, we go up and down. If I hold control, we go all the way down and all the way up. And again, that's an option. If you have a look through the key bindings there, you can think about whether you want to do that. See here, you've got crouch hold and crouch toggle. Those are the different ones there. Now there are a few advantages and disadvantages of this. I mean, there's no disadvantage for the crouch. The crouch is absolutely fine. It happens instantly. But say I'm being shot and I've got a small wall right in front of me and I want to dive to the floor, it is going to take an extra split second to dive all the way down. Now, that extra split second doesn't feel very much. I mean, it feels like it goes straight down. But there is a slight delay there, and there isn't a slight delay if I just go bump. That's my mouse finger, which is the one operating that. My mouse finger, that's instantly down, and that's instantly up, whereas that's delayed down, and that's delayed up. So whilst I'm using one less button over this side, you do need to think about sometimes those milliseconds that make a difference between life and death. Do you want it to be? Do you want to have that, or do you actually not have enough buttons and therefore you need to save it up? Now, a common button that you need to use a lot is your spot communication, which is Q. Now, I see a lot of players not using Q and not spotting, especially new players. They don't use it as much as personally I think that they should, because first of all, you get points. You spot someone, someone on your team kills them, you get 10 points. Whoop, whoop. Even more importantly than that, you spot someone, your teammate spots them, turns around and shoots them, you've just saved their life, which is even better than that. And thirdly, that might help you win the game as a whole, playing the objective. And it also means that if you're spotting people in the distance that you've got no chance of killing, you can tap Q on them and go for it. Now, I don't like Q, because I like to be moving, and I don't want to have, if say I'm moving to the left like this, I see someone in the distance, got no chance of killing them, how do I press Q? I can't move and get to it unless I kind of go, so I've remapped it to Alt, which is under my thumb here. So when I'm moving around, basically the only thing I can't do is jump and spot at the same time. But I think it's quite unlikely for me to be kind of like, oh, spot, all at the same time. So that's the other thing you need to be thinking about doing, is that the reason why you can put sprint and crouch under the same finger is because you don't sprint and crouch at the same time. The reason I can put jump and spot together is I don't do those at the same time. The reason I can put rocket launcher and jump at the same button, or paddles and jump on the same finger, is you don't tend to do those things at the same time. But I can put your brain at the moment, it's probably going, oh well, I might be wanting to jump past something and get my paddles out at the same time. And that's now, that means you're now thinking as you should be. You're thinking like, well, what do I need to do at the same time? Therefore, what do I need accessible to my fingers? But do think about putting either your to spot to something down here that your thumb can do without moving your rest of your hand, or again, remember your mouse. What about your thumb button there for spot, or that one there for spot, or have you? Oh, I know. There's a sniper in Team Europe that uses the middle mouse. Instead of that being a melee, that will be his spot. So think about that. But I would probably move it from Q. Would be my recommendation there. Now, if we just flip back over to the thread. Now, one of the other suggestions that came up from Smart Shots, and I know other players have used this before, is instead of having your right mouse button being your aim down scope, to have it as jump instead. So that means when you're kind of running around, it's going to be a lot easier if I just move my hand up and down. As you're kind of sprinting across between place and place, to go bounce, 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 bounce with that finger rather than doing it with your keyboard. Now, I personally don't really feel the difference, but I know quite a lot of people that actually use this setup, so it must work for some people and have some advantages. So do think about whether you could be doing something different with your right mouse button. Now, the other suggestion we've got from Sandboarder here is to remap sprint to his thumb mouse button here, which I'm tapping with my hand here, and you can see it on the web page, because that means that he can start running off somewhere, hold down the sprint button, and let go completely with the keyboard hand. Now, if you're doing one of those big long sprints in a conquest match where you have to run from one place to the other and you've got like 20 seconds essentially of just plain running, it can be nice to lift off a hand, give it a little kind of waggle, flex a little bit, drink a sip of your beer, text a little mate, or just give your head a good scratch. Then that can actually kind of be quite a nice suggestion as well. And actually, after Sandboarder suggested it, quite a few people actually replied to that, kind of going, well, that's a really, really good idea to just take a sip of your drink, munch a bit of sandwich while running from place to place. Obviously, I'm sure there will be occasions where you're running from place to place and someone comes and shoots you in the face, but if you've just had a cool sip of your beer, you probably won't mind all that much. Anyway, I hope these little kind of tips and suggestions have been useful. Do think carefully about your key bindings, and I'd love to hear some of the suggestions for what you're using, either in the comments section here or on the Team Europe thread. And I do strongly suggest you go and check out the Team Europe thread. The link is in the description below. You've got at least 12, 13, 14 different people's key bindings there to give you ideas and suggestions, and I will go back to that thread as well and add my full keybind listing there as well if you would like to see it. If you have enjoyed this little discussion, then please give the video a like, and if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, then please do so. And if you're looking for a clan and you're over 18, then do come and check out Team Europe as well. Thanks for watching. Take care. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.